Hey, this is Lance Wallnau today with Mercedes Sparks in the studio. And we have a lot of interesting questions that are coming in from people that we are going to now go ahead and throw out to our financial expert today. Joining us on the show is Chad Frantzen. He is with Wealth Builders. Chad is one of my personal financial advisors. He works with Cousin Billy. And actually, I introduced you to Cousin Billy, as I recall.
Did.
Yes, indeed.
Absolutely.
I remember that now. And so, Chad, we've been talking. We're doing some broadcasting earlier today, and then at the very end, I realized there were questions people have that we'd have to spring on you because we didn't get them done in the last segment. I hope you're ready. Are you in a state of mind right now where you're ready to just throw some stuff at you?
I'm ready. Cousin Billy, couldn't join us because he's a slippery pig, but I will answer the questions on his behalf.
Yeah,
so.
He explained to us that he didn't tell us what he had to do. He just said he had to do something. So yeah. I'll assume he had to do something. So I'm going to start with this one. How should someone in their 20s, 30s, 40s, or 50s approach retirement planning differently? Young versus, say, 20s versus older. How do you approach this thing?
Yeah, great. Great question. People, the younger generations, let's say in their 20s and early 30s, when you're thinking about retirement, long-term planning, in my opinion, I don't think you should incorporate things like Social Security benefits, right? If you're in your 50s, 60s, you probably are going to include Social Security benefits. And a lot of the younger generation, Lance, they're hip and into technology and AI and crypto and all these things. So the younger generation really wants to think through, okay, how can I start investing small amounts into disruptive technology as part of my overall financial plan? Now, someone in their 50s, maybe they're not going to do that as much, right? Because they don't have as much time for that. But the younger generation, it's kind of like investing in the internet in the mid 90s. If you can invest in some of these disruptive technologies and let it sit there for a while, digital currency being one of them, that's a key part of a long-term financial plan if they have a longer time period. The second thing I'll mention, Lance, on that front is, a lot of the investors that are 50 and over have traditionally always done Wall Street stock and bond portfolios, but all generations, Billy and I think, can really enhance their financial plan if they include investing in real estate and investing in other types of assets besides just mutual funds. So that would be true for all generations, to really think through how can I even incorporate other assets besides mutual funds.
All right, Mercedes are going to give you one free question. Go for it.
Oh, I get to ask a question too? Okay, so coming in from some of the comments, here's like a random one, okay? And what's the best piece of financial advice you have ever received?
Well, I think, that's a really good one. I think kind of twofold. One is to continually invest in yourself. I started working for a Wall Street firm when I was 22, 23, and, 20 years ago. I think continually spending money and time to invest in myself has been the biggest one. The other side of that coin has been to really find mentors to learn from, whether you're in medical field or academia, or you want to learn how to be an entrepreneur. Like, I think I have gotten great return on my investment from spending time seeking out mentors. And I think that's a lost art. Everyone's busy, but I think that's the two sides of the same coin is really what's helped me.
Well, what we have now, for most of the folks that are out there watching, there's some things that they should be doing in light of the uncertainty of what's coming economically. Interest rates are going to be going up. Stock is going to probably be going down. A lot of real estate is going to be depreciating in value. It's not the same market as it was before. So what are some of the things when people look at survival for the future, what are some of the areas that you have them paying attention to?
Well, that's a great question. I think definitely technology and what we call disruptive technology, which I've already mentioned. I think being aware of what's going on in decentralized finance, as one example, what's going on in the medical field, in the field of medicine. There's a lot of technology there. So when you think about, well, I may not be in the medical field, but how could I start investing to take advantage of cures for diseases or new technologies in that area? I think that's certainly a big one. I think the second one, Lance, is, and you and I have talked about this with Billy, is you really need to have wise counselors around you that understand what we call the kingdom framework, right? Because, you could work with any number of people for advice, or, you think about a bank, right? We've talked about this, like, you just got to be careful who you're getting career advice, financial advice, investing advice, entrepreneurial advice from. And I think that that's a huge one. And I think that's one of the things Billy and I and the team try to do is really coach people in all those different areas.
Well,
right.
And you're good at it. And that's the reason why Annabelle calls you up and I call you up and we talk to you, we talk to Cousin. I want everyone to follow my advice and do what I'm doing. Listen, I'm not trying to suggest something I myself don't do. Go to the free financial survival guide and get a download right now. You can go to lancewallnau.com. They're going to bring it up there on the screen, lancewallnau.com/stormproof. You want to stormproof your financial portfolio, your financial future, lancewallnau.com/stormproof. And you want to get access to that exclusive one-on-one financial consulting that comes from the Wealth Builder folks over there that Annabelle and I have. Annabelle's gone to their conferences every year, and I've gone as frequently as I can. There's a picture on the screen for you. Develop your own personal kingdom investing plan, because I believe in the 7 Mountain strategy. We know the movies that are profitable. We know the initiatives that are happening in education. We know the kingdom is advancing, and the darkness is also trying to advance, and it does it through woke capital. It does it through money that believers are giving to the devil, quite frankly, to use against them. I won't do that anymore. I want to avoid woke capital. I want to avoid woke companies. I want to put my money into companies that share my values and that aren't going to use the profits they make from my money to persecute me. And there's a way to do that. And by the way, those kinds of values-driven, innovative, faith-oriented companies are performing, and in many places outperforming the competitor. The devil will lie to you and say, well, you're going to have to get into some of these businesses, even if it compromises your values. You don't have to put a curse on yourself and make a profit. You can actually make a profit and have a clear conscience. Mercedes, you're waving me down like you're on a runway over there. What do you want? What do you want to say?
I'm not. So when people don't know I'm over this side, I'm like, oh, I have something to say. So I just kind of raise my hand up like I'm in class. I have something to say. But no, I was thinking, as far as our listeners go, we asked the question, where are you at? 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s? What would you do differently? There's probably a lot of people with retirement accounts. You guys have worked really hard over the years to squirrel away whatever money you can save. And some of it might be sitting on the sidelines. Like I have family members that they have cash sitting there and they're like, I'm really not sure what to do. I don't know where the market's going. So obviously get this guide, but set up a time to talk to Chad and really put a plan together. He's got a great team over there and they'll come up with the right plan for you, because everybody's at a different place. And so what's so fantastic about Billy and Chad is they customize everything to your financial situation. So I wanted to also throw out there, Chad, outside of downloading the Stormproof Guide and connecting with your team, what are some podcasts or books that you would recommend, other resources that people could be looking at just to inform themselves, right? My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. So as they see everything happening, you don't have to be a victim to the economic circumstances. What would you suggest?
Well, I'm gonna do a shameless plug here, and invite Lance onto our podcast, the Kingdom Finance Show.
Nice.
So that's one we started in January. Billy's been on it, and Lance, I want to formally invite you to come on it, and it's called the Kingdom Finance Show. So every Tuesday we drop a new episode, and we have different people come in and talk about from a different angle what's going on in the economy, the markets. And so it's similar to what you're doing, Lance, of current events. Hey, what's going on? Except we're really focusing on the economic aspect of it. So that's really where we put most of our research and content on the Kingdom Finance Show. And then Billy Epperhart, cousin, one of my favorite books that he has is called Money Mastery. And that is an excellent book, whether you're in your 20s or 40s or 60s or 80s. That was one of his original books. It's called Money Mastery by Billy Epperhart. It's a very easy to read, and it's what I like about it, Mercedes, is there's a lot of on-ramps. There's a lot of good financial books, but they're just, it goes over your head and you're not sure how to apply it. But those are two that come to mind for sure.
Can I ask one more, or you got
Go
one
ahead.
ready
Go
to
ahead.
go? No, I just like to pick people's brain. This is like Mercedes' lightning round of questions since I've got Chad here.
Mercedes round.
So, Chad, let me ask you this question: what is a simple daily or weekly habit that someone can do to improve their financial health? Like, what's just something people should be thinking about, be doing this weekly or daily? What do you think?
I think subscribing to, maybe one or two financial newsletters, and there are some that we have on our website that we recommend, but I don't want an overabundance of information. I kind of want a couple of sources. So as a habit, if there's a couple of financial newsletters that I'm going to read each week, that's my habit. I usually get them on Fridays, and then I read them on Friday, or I might peruse them over the weekend, so I can think on, because I tend to want to think about a subject matter a lot before I make a decision. Because in my world, I'm making decisions for a lot of families on how to invest.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good habit. I think also, and Billy's mentioned this, and Lance, you've kind of alluded to it. For those that are married couples, I think it's really important to have a habit of setting aside some time. It doesn't have to be a lot, but it could just be 10 minutes of couch time, where you're going to talk about some of these, sometimes finance and legal stuff, Lance, it's just not that exciting, right? You're like, oh, we got to call Chad, or we got to call the attorney or the tax guy. But if you would make a habit of just setting aside a few minutes to say, okay, hey, Annabelle comes to you, Lance, and says, hey, here's my punch list. We need to talk about these three things. I think that's a really healthy habit for your marriage to create financial success and make an impact.
That's so
Ladies
true.
and gentlemen, what you're watching right now is Chad indirectly giving me some counseling feedback after talking to my wife and doing it on the air. My life, I got a prophecy once, and it said, your life will be like a man living in a fishbowl where everybody knows everything about you, but it won't bother you. So you're right, Chad. I really need to make that sense. The problem is, tell Annabelle, she can't tell me these things at the end of the day at 11, oh, by the way, good night. And don't forget, talk to the lawyers about the trademarks, because I got to call Chad and tell him what's going on. You see, it's timing. It's the timing for these things.
Well, plus,
I tell Kelly the same thing. At the end of the night, I'm tired. I don't want to talk schedule. I'm just like, I'm not there mentally, so I'm with you.
Yes, but I do have to schedule that time to go. We're going to go to my son's wedding. He's getting married in Prague, and I'm excited about that. So Carl's getting married, and we're going to leave, and we're going to have a nice long flight, and I'm going to go over all of the things that you've been advising her on. Because one of the things you guys do is you'll build a dashboard, which is a great thing, a financial dashboard for all of my people out there. You all need, I do this wheel of life thing, and trust me, every part of that wheel of life is relevant. And don't make the mistake that I made of thinking, if I double and triple, here I got two Bibles, if I double and triple with spirit life, passion for Jesus, that it's going to take care of my financial life. It doesn't, because the Bible says wisdom is profitable to direct. And you can't double down in your prayer life, your worship life, your spirit life, your faith life, and then not pay attention to your physical or your relational or your financial life and expect to have hundredfold responses. You're going to have to invest in your relationships, invest in your physical health, and invest in your finances. And you can't compensate for that by being super spiritual. I think that's a mistake a lot of people get into in the faith movement. They think that they could do this and not do the other also. But you've got wisdom, my friends, will direct you to invest in all those areas. Is that not true, Chad? Don't you see that sometimes? Pastors, and God bless them, some of the most beautiful people in the world. Then they're ready to retire, or their church requires them to. And many times we're trying to help them out because they didn't take care of this. They thought it was automatically taken care of. But wisdom is what God was trying to give them, don't you think?
Oh, you're right on. And this financial dashboard that you and Mercedes have both mentioned, one of the things that helped me personally was to be able to have an online secure financial dashboard where I'm talking about me personally, where I could see where things are in my own personal world of businesses I own, balance sheet. And whether you're a ministry leader, an entrepreneur, whether you're a retiree or a student, that's really valuable. And one thing, Mercedes, you mentioned it earlier about some people may have cash laying around. Right now, as we speak, all the big woke banks from B of A to Wells to Chase, do you know what they're paying on their deposits? They're paying less than 0.5%.
Wow.
And so you're tying this together to what you said, Mercedes, if someone can kind of create a financial dashboard, which we can, and then if you're a busy minister, entrepreneur, whatever it is, student, I mean, we're all busy. But if you can have a place where you can say, well, gosh, I've got 30,000 in a Roth at Chase earning 0.05%. And the irony of that is with interest rates where they are, you can go buy a CD or money market and get 4 or 5% a year on it.
Wow.
Now that's not a huge number, but when Chase and the woke banks are saying, oh yeah, we'll do all your banking and everything, but they're not paying anyone anything on their deposits. And that comes up when we think about financial literacy, financial dashboard. And obviously we don't want to associate with the woke banks, Lance, but we also want to know, hey, our money needs to be working. Even our cash should be doing something, right?
You got that totally right. Well, once again, I want you all to get that financial guide and get your download and build a dashboard and develop a sense of financial strategy. LanceWallnau.com/stormproof.
And I think even for young people too, like I'm saying, I'd say as young as 25 going into 35, you want to start thinking about these things. Like, who actually thinks in my generation that Social Security is going to be around for me? That's not going to be a thing. And so I think a younger generation, I think like under 40 is looking at, I can't rely on the government. I can't, look how they are with money. So you got to be thinking about, Larry and I are always planning, and we're a little more risky. Like you're talking about crypto and certain investments. We're a little more risky in what our investments are because we are a little bit younger, but people need to be thinking about that. And we all work so hard. You want to put your money to work and ideally have your money make money for you. And there's huge opportunity, like we talked about with Billy in a previous broadcast, going into next year. You want to have a plan ready to go, because when the opportunity comes and the market drops, you want to be able to buy then and get in at the right point. And so that's what Chad and his team would be happy to talk to you about. So anyways, you can go to LanceWallnau.com/stormproof, get the guide, but also just set up a time to talk with Chad and his team.
And listen, and I want to talk to one type of person out there. 70% of people, which could be a large part of my audience, are living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, you just say, well, you want to skip this broadcast and go to, some other, trendy, incendiary broadcast about how the world's ending next week or if Trump's going to be the next president. But what you ought to be doing is you ought to be looking at, especially if you don't have cash flow advantages, you need to be starting now to develop the knowledge, because we were all there. We've all been there. And the truth of the matter is, I believe that financial mastery or wealth mastery is the ability to be reduced back to zero. People go through a Great Depression. There's times in history where everything gets wiped out. And still, the people that rebuild over the next decade are the people that have the knowledge of what to do. And other people just never recover because they never knew what to do in the first place. So you need to invest in the knowledge. You need to invest in How do you create wealth? How can you begin to reduce the taxes you've got? How can you free up capital you don't know you have? How can you access money? So you talk to these guys, you don't even realize. I talked to somebody that bought their first house. They had no idea that they could borrow off the value of the house that they had. They thought they had nothing.
Yeah.
Now, and by the way, they were working with you guys. Now they've got 6 houses. So Chad, any final thoughts before I fly off the air here?
One thing that comes to mind is I know there's people in your audience who are in the financial mountain. They're in the business mountain, and many of them may be financial professionals, whether they're CPAs or stockbrokers or planners. And, we would love to connect with them. And here's why, because in my industry, Billy and I have learned that 25% of people that do what I do, only 25% of us use a biblical framework or a faith-driven framework for giving financial advice. And that's staggering. And I really believe the more we can even encourage other financial professionals, whether they're CPAs or planners, to do these type of concepts that Billy and I do, that's how we influence culture more beyond just what we can do personally, because that number is way too low. That means people are in their profession and they go to church, they tithe, they probably vote conservative, but they don't do it in the business that they're in, which is financial stewardship.
So what are you telling them to do, Chad? You want them to get in touch with you and discuss this, or how do they do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think even I don't view them as competitors. I view them as peers where we can mutually share ideas. But I've learned a lot from other financial professionals to get where I am, who are saying, hey, this is how we're investing for Kingdom Impact and media and entertainment. I was at a meeting last month on. So even financial professionals to reach out to us through the link provided or through the website, wealthbuilders.net, because there's just a lot of ideas that we can share to help them implement these type of things in their business for their clients.
I agree 100%. Mercedes, why don't you close us out here? What are your thoughts finally as we land the plane?
You know what? I was trying to come up with like a fun ending tagline for our segments with Chad, because I want to bring Chad and Billy on. I'm a big advocate for Financial Fridays because I want people informed. So I was thinking you should end it with, okay, Chad, thanks for being on. And just want to thank again, Chad, my financial advisor, and hopefully your financial advisor, for being on the program with us today. That's what I was coming up with, a jingle in my head, but that's how I was going to end it.
Well, okay. Well, I want to, yes, this is my financial advisor. And also, as you could hear, my financial counselor on how to work it out with Annabelle, right, so that we have these conversations. Thank you very much.
I'm on your side, Lance.
I know you are. I know you are, and I appreciate your counseling me today.
He says the same
live.
exact thing to Annabelle. Don't. Plus, you've got like weddings. You have 2 weddings coming up.
I got 2 weddings coming up. I have to do some real fiscal juggling here, because those weddings, you got to do something to get the cash flow going for these things. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's not your problem. That's for me to figure out with Chad and with Annabelle and all of you who know everything about me. I love you, and I'll see you again on our next Lance Wallnau Show. God bless you.
Did you enjoy this latest episode? Please remember to share it with your friends, because the more knowledge you have, the better equipped you are to navigate the world.